because you're so beautiful.
Exactly.
You look younger than your sons, right? As if you look younger than your sons, right?
Exactly. Someone here asked, what can you tell us about the composer? Who did the music?
The music composition was basically like 4 different people. The 2 main guys were Kyle McKinnon and Justin Lee, and they're people I've worked with since Pop Skull, and they did a Horrible Way to Die score. And Kyle, like specifically, like the first actual piece of music he wrote was I guess you can call it the Sharni theme, the one where she's putting up the axe and it's like, and like he sent that to me, and I was like, oh, this is way too fucking over the top. There's no way we can use this. And so like we went and put him in a different direction, and then like whenever I showed Keith and Jess the rough cut, they're like, you know, I think I could tell that like they were liking the movie, but they had some reservations, and they were like, they're like, now the score, we like it, but it's like it doesn't let you have fun. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna put something in tomorrow and I'll show you guys. And then they played that, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is working. And then like the rest of the music was a guy named Matt Hepburn. Is it Hepburn? Heltzberg. And he was somebody that was at our first test screening, and we just had a couple places we needed to fill in. And the rest of it I did on my, basically mostly on my iPod, a lot of the electronic stuff, just to fill in the gaps, because like, you know, there was like so much music we needed, we had so little time. I realized that we weren't going to be able to get everybody to pull it together, so I would just like throw together some stuff and, you know, just, you know, try to get the whole thing together. Unfortunately, you know, I guess it turned out
really effective. Do we have any other questions here? Yes, Vlad. Were you influenced by Home Alone in any way?
I mean, obviously the nail scene. I mean, who didn't like Home Alone though? I mean, I remember watching that fucking movie when I was a kid a couple times in the theater and thinking it was literally, it was like an orgasmic experience. It was like the best movie ever made. So I mean, yeah, I mean that kind of stuff does kind of show through in some weird way. Do you have anything to add, Sam?
Hollywood executives, we are willing to remake Home Alone.
I just want to add to that one thing, was the first time you guys sent me the script, the first comment I had is, oh, it's Home Alone is a horror movie. That's brilliant, I'm in. Yes?
Well, I mean, anytime the windows were breaking or somebody was jumping out a window, because like we had so little time to do the movie, it was always like, there's no way we're going to be able to do that. Actually, it was pretty much every special effects scene, but sometimes it was because, you know, the special effect didn't work, and then we're like, it's more like a retrospect thing, like, oh, that didn't work, and we're going to have to keep shooting this over and over again throughout the entire shoot, you know? But I think the main thing, you know, like I never believed that we were going to actually be able to have, you know, it was a stunt double. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but it wasn't Sharni jumping out the window.
Only because you wouldn't let me.
She did want to, she begged. She did. Yeah, she did everything else. But like those windows were so small, it was like our stunt choreographer and fight coordinator, Clayton Barber, he, you know, like he was really concerned. Like the first thing he did when he showed up to the set is he wanted to look at the windows, and he was just like, immediately just like, oh, let me see the upstairs. And we go upstairs and it's like even worse, you know? And so we went through a couple different things. We were trying to figure out where we were going to do it in the house or were we going to fake it downstairs. And ultimately he brought in this stunt girl who just didn't give a shit. And she just, you know, jumped through this little tiny window and it just kind of came together.
Clayton Barber was the stunt director coordinator on Moran. Who else? Yes, the green plaid shirt.
Right.
What's it like for you as a director?
Well, it's a lot of fun because when you're working with people like, you know, Swanberg, who played, you know, Drake, the brother with the arrow in his back, and you know, you got like Ty West in there. It's one of those things where the whole time, like, whenever like shit's going down, and it, you know, because like in a production like this, when you have a very small amount of time to pull off something where you want it to feel like you have a lot of shots, like the movie doesn't, it's not worried about the budget. You know, you're trying to just like push it through. Whenever you have like directors like acting for you, they like have a lot of empathy. So, you know, like when a special effects doesn't work, you know, like Ty would come up to me and he's just like, listen, I know some guys that can fix this shit up, you know, and But ultimately, we just go back and like reshoot it a couple days later, just as like as an insert. And you know, a lot of that was like patched together that way. But I mean, you know, it's really it's not one of those things like in some ways I would have imagined like a couple years ago before working with other directors as actors that it would be kind of intimidating, like they'd be judging me or having their own, you know, thoughts and ways of doing things. But Joe Swanberg, who I've worked with a lot, I've DP'd for him over the years and stuff. He does this a lot, and he just kind of opened that, you know, door to me, you know, in terms of, you know, making that work. And in a way, it just brings like a whole nother life to it, because he is approaching it from a directing standpoint and an acting standpoint, so he knows kind of like, you know, where the bullshit is, what works, what doesn't, blah, blah, blah.
And we've got time for one more question here. Up in the balcony, waving furiously. Yes?
No, it was basically like Simon wrote the script and he had this big monologue, and he's like, who do we know that can do this? And we're like, well, AJ had a big monologue at the end of A Horrible Way to Die. Why don't we have him do this character? And it was kind of tailored for AJ from the beginning, because we knew his kind of style and his approach, and he kind of did it exactly the way we wanted it to, so.
Yeah, no, just, I mean, yeah, it was 100% written for AJ because, I mean, eventually I'm going to have to stop writing scripts where AJ Bowen comes out and a twist ending and explains the entire plot. But not yet. And so no, I mean, it was written for him, and he did that. I mean, he did that like 4-page monologue. It was like a Tony Jaa scene or something. He just did it in like one single take. And you know, it was just like we were just kind of like, who else do we know who's like kind of funny like this?
And he's actually heartbroken not to be here because he just started shooting a new film.
Yeah,
so
he's on location in Atlanta doing some science fiction thing. We don't know what it is.
And just my last question, what is your actual next project? What are you guys working on next?
Well, I mean, you know, I guess things right now are kind of secret, but I mean, if you watch the film, you can kind of see that there's a sort of transition, hopefully, into doing something more action-oriented, you know? And so I'll just leave it at that, you know?
The great thing is there's been a meeting of minds. We had dinner last night with the director and guys from The Raid.
Who are right here, the director and actors of The Raid, and I believe the directors of Inside and Livid. I don't know if they're still here or not. But thank you very much. Thank you all. And tomorrow night, of course, we have the return of the directors of Inside with Livid. French horror, chills, and more stuff to come. Tell your friends there's repeat screenings of all these films, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at @MMadnessTIFF. Thank you very much, and remember, vote